I mean, who cares what Jimmy down the street's doing? For all you know,
100%.
Jimmy's got a drinking problem. I can get people fully pre-qualified without affecting their credit. Converted another one, baby.
Speaking of the 40s, we were
Yes.
talking the other day about how we have some, people within our spheres, people within the, our arm's length, and that we know that are in their 40s and going to buy their house for the first time. And it got me to thinking, why someone might wait too long, or not wait too long, but wait, kind of feel like get discouraged about buying when they're in their late 30s or even early 40s. Like what?
Well, which is crazy because I don't feel like they should. The new
100%.
the new data that came out is the average age of a first-time home buyer right now in the United States is 38 years old, and that's up 3 or 4 years just from the previous year.
Yeah.
So it's interesting because we're starting to see people, I mean, if you think about kids now that are in their 20s, a lot of them are taking their time to really even get married. Sometimes they're thinking about buying a house, or I mean, let's face it, maybe they already have the kid and an ex-wife or an ex-husband and they're on to number two, and they were
Yeah.
so young when that happened. They didn't buy a house, and then they break up. Takes time to recover. So
Yeah.
now that they're in a better spot and with their new partner in crime, now they feel like they're ready to buy a house later
Yeah.
versus earlier, which seems to be like maybe when our parents did it, right?
Yeah. Yep. Well,
So
something that I kind of comes up when I have these kind of conversations with folks is some of it they get to a stage where they're like, when you ask why haven't you, it's like they feel like they're behind.
yeah,
They feel like they're so behind that they're not going to be able to catch up, or like why even do it?
but that's the thing I feel like is discouraging to myself, because I
They
get
watch their,
that.
like you pointed out, they're watching, they're doing their thing, but then they're watching family, and they're watching friends who are in their 20s and 30s buying houses, and now, and so that feeling of being even more behind is
Yep.
stronger.
It's the old keeping up with the Joneses,
Yeah.
which I've always hated
Yeah.
because everyone is on their own timeline.
Yeah.
There is pressure. I totally get it. So do you.
Yeah.
But we also have to remember, and every individual that's out there, I mean, who cares what Jimmy down the street's doing? For all you know,
100%.
Jimmy's got a drinking problem that he keeps hidden, and they're on the rocks more than what you might think. You don't know about people,
And
so
you
I
won't be
try to
able to tell
encourage.
that by social media, especially because of social,
Yes,
right?
right. Everybody's life is perfect on social media, and I want people to just focus on their story
Yeah.
and their journey and doing what's best for their family, because we do know, when even if it's later in life, when you buy a home, it is way better for your kids in many different ways.
Yeah.
Now more than ever, people have an opportunity to buy. There's all sorts of different down payment assistance programs. You don't have to have perfect credit by any stretch to get into a
Now,
house.
give me an
Yeah.
example.
So we closed a loan with down payment assistance. I think the guy was a 606 credit score.
Yeah.
And, he brought in I think 1,500, something like that, of his own money.
Oh,
But for the most part, that was all down payment assistance
wow. So
that we
15
got him.
bucks, 606, and you got a house.
Yeah, 606, and he got a house with down payment assistance.
Wow. Nice.
So there's lots of opportunity out there. And it really is just, you got to get into the game. And one thing that I think people aren't realizing is, or let me back up. They get it into their head mentally that if they buy that first home when they're 38, it has to be some sort of starter home that's not that great, anyways.
Good point. Because by that time, you're already in a place where I'm looking closer to my forever home. Like
Yeah.
I need it to be the right home, not a move up home, not a built, yeah, not a move.
Well, exactly. And then add into the fold where if we have a blended family or a multi generational situation, you, you're a starter home isn't always going to fit everybody.
Correct, correct.
So you get into that situation and you're feeling the pressure, you're giving yourself these expectations that might not even be there.
Yeah,
And you think because you have financial challenges right now that you never have a shot.
yeah,
And it's just not true, especially in this era that we're in with lending. I mean, it's not 2008 where everybody gets a loan just for having a pulse and a paycheck,
yeah. I remember that. I remember that.
right?
Um,
But it's still a very attainable goal for people if they want it,
Yeah.
right?
Something, speaking of the financial piece, something that I had a client talk to me about was one of the reasons that they weren't jumping on it, and they were 42, was because they're at this stage of their life, you know, retirement is a much closer
Sure.
uh, uh, um, benchmark milestone than it was when you're 20, right? When you're 20, you look
Yep.
at 40 and you're like, holy smokes, that's old AF, right? And
Yeah.
at you're 40, you're like, I feel pretty good. But
Yeah.
but that milestone of retirement is a lot closer. And they were kind of like, well, if I buy a house, then what's that going to do for my retirement?
Mm-hmm.
How am I going to be able to afford retirement? How do you explain that?
Well, there's an argument out there. There's two arguments. One, um, you always need a place to live. That's what we tell people.
Yeah.
Well, then there's people that say, well, I'm always going to rent. But if you own a house and you have that equity,
Yep.
there's something called a reverse mortgage
Okay.
that can completely fund. And I won't get into the details of how all that works, but if you have your house and you get into retirement or you want to retire and it's not there, you can use your house as a retirement vehicle, meaning you would get a monthly check from your house using a reverse mortgage.
Okay.
That's one idea. Another idea is that you sell the house when you get into that retirement age because it no longer fits your needs
Yeah.
because the kids are all gone and it's a big house. You want to take care of it and you sell it and just pay cash for the next one. Maybe you finance a little bit of it. Who knows? I mean, I think people they get the blinders on
Yeah.
about trying to save for retirement, and nothing against financial planners, but they don't know about reverse mortgages. They think you're going to pay the house off and then that's just an asset when you die. Somebody gets it.
Yeah. Yeah.
When in fact
So
you can be using that asset in retirement.
yeah. So it has less to do because there's always that pressure of getting it right, right? Like
Yeah.
if I buy a house and I'm 42 late, I I have to get it right so much more now than I did when I was 20. Um, but I feel like I mean we always get the question, is it the right time to buy a house? And the answer is, there's that old Chinese proverb of when is it the right time to plant a tree? 20
Yeah.
years ago and now, right?
Yep.
So it's the same time that there is uh when is the right time? Now. There is no right time to buy a home like in the books, right? Like it matters. What matters is that making a decision that fits your current life circumstances is what you got to reframe it so that it fits your current life circumstances. Because what happens to me at I'm 51 is certainly different than what I was at 41, and definitely different than when I was at 21.
100%. 100%. And that's like my lifestyle change that I did. 4 years ago, I moved to the country.
Yeah, yeah,
And, the kids are all out of the house. And here I am in the country, absolutely loving it rather than being in a city.
yeah.
But I was able to do that. I don't know, because was able to sell stuff and buy new stuff in the real estate world, right? So it's
Well, the thing is that at this age, you're more typically you're more financially stable or more
yeah,
financially prepared. You're more emotionally prepared than young buyers to
yeah,
buy
100%.
your first place.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be that starter home when you're 40 if you're buying your first home when you're 40. And I do want to say something, by the way. People forget, they think because they own a home at some point in their life that they're no longer a first time home buyer. So a quick reminder,
Oh,
as
good
long as
point.
you haven't owned a home within the last 3 years,
Yeah,
you're considered a first time home buyer. So that's all programs that aren't available for move up buyers. As long as you haven't owned a home in the last 3 years, you're now considered a first time home buyer again.
yep,
So that's really cool. And it doesn't mean starter home,
correct.
it can mean that mid level or even that much higher level. I got someone right now who's buying a house, him and his wife won't be on the loan, but the mother are going to buy the house. It's a $600,000 house. It's their first house.
That's what we were just talking about with the it being the forever home, right?
Yeah, exactly. So they're moving in, creating a mother-in-law suite so the mom can take care of kids.
Okay, so let me explain. Let me ask you this: if buying a house and I'm going to create this mother-in-law suite, but the house doesn't happen. You and I were talking with some folks this weekend
Yes.
about a renovation loan that will help out with that because
Oh,
a
100%.
specific
Yeah.
scenario came up just this weekend when we were talking to some folks at a first-time home buyer seminar. Tell
Yeah.
tell tell me about
Yeah.
that, man.
So what we're seeing more and more in today's world is, and I think it's kind of always been there, we just didn't identify it before, is we're seeing multi-generational buying. And it's happening with these first-time home buyers that are in that 38 to 44 year range.
Yeah.
Oftentimes there's kids. They want to buy a nice house in a nice neighborhood with nice schools, but they
Yep.
can't quite swing it. And this whole time they've been driving the kids over to mom and dad's house for daycare.
Yeah.
Well, what these people are doing is they're buying the bigger house. Mom is going to move in. Mom's also on the loan to help them qualify.
Yeah.
And we're going to renovate the part of the basement of the house and turn it into a mother-in-law suite. So there's a kitchenette down there. She's got a full private bathroom
But if you
for
don't have the money
herself.
for a renovation,
Well, we build it into the loan.
so I can buy the house at the purchase price that's agreed upon,
Yep.
and you'll still give me the money to make the,
Yeah, over and above. Yeah. Yeah, we just want to make sure once the project's complete that it will appraise out for what we're adding on.
yeah,
But renovation loans are sweet because you can do so much with them especially if you're looking at a location
Yeah.
with the schools or what, whatever it is,
Yeah.
and there's limited housing, pop a renovation loan, build your mother-in-law suite or your mother and don't forget father-in-law suite, or build an addition. I
Yeah.
mean, essentially you can do almost anything you want with these renovation loans and go multi-generational, so you kind of pool your stuff together. And I mean, it's a thing of beauty. It's just being creative.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah. I've seen that too, where, you've got, because you kind of talked about that blended family in I had that scenario with a client where um he had bought, and he was in his late 30s. Um, he had bought a place for him and his son. And then 3 years later, he fell in love. And so he sold his house, she sold her house, and then they bought a forever home. Very nice forever home.
Yeah,
But it
no
wasn't
kidding.
a starter. Like they sold two starters to buy that house as well.
And that's fantastic. And that's, I think, the big point I like to drive home, especially with our chat today, is everybody's situation, they feel like it's unique,
Yeah,
which it is unique to them, but they're definitely not alone.
yeah,
I mean, if you consider the fact I have had some sort of license with the Minnesota Department of Commerce since 1999,
yeah.
mortgages, credit, all that stuff. It's a lot of years, seen a lot of scenarios and put together a lot of different types of scenarios. So, feeling that pressure to buy that first
And
house
that
as
was
an
the
older
thing.
person.
The point. Yeah, I'm the thing I wanted to emphasize was that he was in his late 30s. I think he was 38 when he bought it. 3 years later, it gave him the buying power because he had equity
Yeah,
to be able to. Now his life circumstances changed, even at that 41, 42.
yeah,
It gave him he positioned himself to be able to actually make that decision. So,
right.
yeah, 100%.
3 years is a lot of time in kids' years.
Yeah,
You know what I
it
mean? With
is.
how they change.
Yeah, it is.
Imagine how your 9 year old versus your 11 or 12-year old.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, holy smokes.
And then
Yeah,
your 12-year old to your 15-year old who has a permit, just their
for sure.
behavior, how independent they are, how much they're even home
Yeah.
at 15, 16 years old,
Yep.
right? So a lot of things change. So if we're asking people just buy something to buy something, well, that's not good either. We need it to suit their needs, but also understanding your life's going to change and your needs might.
Yep.
So if you have that first house under your belt, there's nothing stopping you from upgrading in 3 to 5 years. And that's how you do it, is you use the equity from the first house to buy the next house.
So don't worry if it's the right time to buy. Know if it's the right decision for your circumstances.
Exactly.
Don't worry about or don't overemphasize the need to find a starter home. It's okay to go and get your move up home already, right?
Yeah.
Your move up home for your first home,
It can be $500,000.
right?
There's nothing saying you have to buy a 250,000 3 bedroom, 1 bathroom Rambler on Second Street because it's a starter home,
Yeah.
right?
Don't worry about what you see on social media because your whatever
Crap,
YouTube is
anyways.
on there and who may look like they're successful or not successful, like that can be applied to anything,
Yeah.
right? And then what are some parting words? Like you're not behind.
No, you're on your own pace. And that's it. If you feel like now you want to provide a home for your family, now is when you start doing it.
Yeah.
Soon as you think it's a good idea, you better start looking into it more aggressively and understanding it, because you don't buy a home in a day.
Yeah. And that's the thing is like the moment that you think about that is when you should start actually digging in and finding out because too often, and we heard that this weekend, we have folks who they want to get it right. They're so
Yeah, it's never
tied
perfect.
to I need to make sure that I have these 10 things in line. And then you ask, well, have you confirmed if you've gotten any of those things in line? Well, no. Well,
No.
let's go look because you
Yeah.
might have 8 out of 10 things already lined up. You and I do this every day. You are in the healthcare business or you're in automobile business or you're so this isn't just something that you do every day. You know, any number of things. Um, Ask. Let's find out where you're standing. So whatever direction we need to point you to hit the target, we can tell you which direction to go.
100%. And it's not even going to hurt your credit.
What do you
So
mean
what do
by
you got to lose?
what do you mean?
Soft credit pulls. I can get people fully pre-qualified without affecting their credit. They can know exactly where they're at without it affecting their credit. I'm also licensed in 49 states.
And so Kalamazoo, we're good.
Right. Kazoo. Kazoo wings, baby.
Outstanding. That's why
Yeah.
I brought it up because I knew you either played there or something I couldn't remember.
Yeah. Played in Detroit, not Kazoo, but close enough.
All right, man. Well, that's what I wanted to touch base on. You know, on the next time that we talk, I wanted to kind of touch base on you had told me about the scenario where you had a son and a daughter
Yes.
buying with mom and dad so that abuelo and abuela can live there as well.
Yes.
So let's talk about that the next time.
Absolutely. It's a really cool story. It's that multi-generational blended family type of buying all together, but I'm super excited for these people. And guess what else?
What's up?
They want to live in rural Minnesota. Converted another one, baby.
There you go.
Get you all out to the country, and I'll move back to the city.
Exactly. There was a time when Rosemount was country, and now it's
Right.
you got a skate park.
Yeah. Hey,
All right,
no
man.
doubt.
Talk to you later.
All right, brother.